Hello, I'm Bill Hart, the Executive Director of the Missouri Alliance for Historic Preservation. We welcome you tonight to our annual listing of Missouri's historic places in peril. For nearly 20 years, Missouri Preservation has, as its chief advocacy program, promoted a list of these endangered historic places throughout the state of Missouri and nominated by Missouri's citizens statewide. We usually announce our endangered list in late summer or early fall with a celebration called an unhappy hour. In the unhappiest of times, COVID-19, we're sorry that we won't be able to be with you personally, but our administrator, Riley Price, has devised a true treat in order to present our endangered list this year. I want to thank a few people, including an anonymous donor who has for the past 3 years provided funds for us to help move our endangered properties to the saved column. I also want to thank our gold sponsor for tonight's presentation, Strata Architecture and Preservation from Kansas City, as well as other special donors, including R.G. Ross Construction Company in St. Louis, Stark Wilson Duncan Architects in Kansas City, and Reuben Brown CPAs in St. Louis. I thank you for tuning in, and right now, I'll turn it over to Riley for tonight's presentation.
Historic Homes of Ava, Ava, Missouri, Douglas County. The small town of Ava is the only incorporated city in Douglas County, Missouri. The town was founded in 1871 as Militia Springs, named after a Union encampment based there during the Civil War, and renamed Ava 10 years later. Like many small communities in Missouri that prospered during the railroad years, Ava has many historic homes from this era. And, like many communities in Missouri, the town could greatly benefit from a preservation commission, which it lacks. One at-risk historic home in Ava is also one of its oldest, originally the home of Reverend George R. Curry, built 1870 at 403 North Fleetwood Street. Today, the stately two-story home shows sign of significant disrepair. Much of the wood siding is rotting, several windows are broken, and the upper balcony is starting to collapse. While the roof protects much of the interior from the elements, the property is in dire need of security as vandalism and squatters on the property are prevalent. Until recently, the house was slated for demolition. The new owner wants to renovate and sell the property, but it is not known if the process will preserve the many historic details still remaining in the house. Another significant home, the Basil Vernon Spurlock House, constructed in 1940 at 203 West Garfield, is a beautiful example of native Ozark rock masonry. Unfortunately, the home has been neglected for years. The roof leaks and many of the windows and doors are broken, which has led to significant deterioration inside, including the collapse of ceilings in several rooms. Like the Curry house, this property was slated for demolition and purchased with the intention of being renovated and sold. Aside from the increasing need to prevent further deterioration, the nominators hope that these two dwellings' designation as places in peril will encourage subsequent owners to rehabilitate these properties, retain their historic details, and help set a precedent for future preservation and rehabilitation of the many historic homes in Ava. The former Stonner Meat Market, Camoy, Missouri, Osage County. Formerly known as the Stonner Meat Market, this two-story brick building in historic downtown Camoy is one of the few early structures still standing on Main Street. The building was constructed in the 1880s for William Bill Stonner, who opened his business in 1888, selling locally raised and freshly butchered meats. His grandson, Ralph Stonner Jr., called Jack, began working for the family business in 1946. He continued to operate the business as Stonner Meat Market until he retired in 1984. New owners briefly took over the business, but eventually the building was converted to support Lucy's Bar and Grill, a local gathering spot to eat, drink, and socialize. Current owners, the Camoy Industrial Development Corporation, CIDC, had hopes for transforming the property for use as a community center, but the project never materialized. The building, currently vacant, has been vandalized. Bricks have been stolen, which has exacerbated deterioration. The CIDC and the Camoy Historic Preservation Commission would like to utilize the building to support a museum's collection, which currently includes the Townley House Museum and Old Jail. Specific plans include highlighting the area's farming history and African American culture. With limited resources available, it is hoped that listing the property as a place in peril will open the door for funding opportunities to preserve this historic building. Doing so will allow the property to remain a focal point of downtown Kamui and highlight important aspects of the town's history. The Olivia Apartments, Joplin, Missouri, Jasper County.
Hi, I'm Jill Sullivan, Executive Director of Coast Art Library. We're an arts, history, and preservation-related not-for-profit organization located in Joplin, Missouri. This year, we nominated Joplin's Olivia Apartments, this beautiful building you see behind me, for Missouri Preservation's Places in Peril list. The Olivia was commissioned by A.E. Bendelari in 1906. It was designed by local architect Austin Allen and built by contractors Dieter and Wenzel. Upon its completion, the Olivia was known as the handsomest apartment building in the West, featuring 34 rooms that ranged in size from small up to 2,000 square feet. Each apartment had built-ins, fireplace, and private balconies. Other amenities included a fifth-floor eatery that employed a world-class chef, and also a barber shop and a billiard room in the basement.
The Olivia operated as an apartment house for 100 years until the city of Joplin deemed it unsafe in 2006 and ordered residents to vacate. Issues caused by vacancy and neglect now place the Olivia Apartments in peril. Vines on the north side of the building have weakened the brick and mortar. Multiple break-ins and vandalism have left imprints on the structure, exacerbating water and structural damage. The roof, damaged and left open to the elements, allows pigeons to inhabit the fifth floor. Various owners over the years have made promises to restore the building to its former glory, but unfortunately each has failed to follow through. While there is not a current demolition order pending, such an action has been suggested to the City of Joplin's Building Board of Appeals.
It is our hope that including the Olivia in the Places in Peril list will help generate interest among potential developers and preservationists who would like to save yet another place of historical significance.
Moberly Junior High School, Moberly, Missouri, Randolph County. The Moberly Junior High School consists of a 1917 rear auditorium wing and main school wing constructed in 1930 to replace Moberly's first high school constructed on the same parcel in 1895. The building is one of Moberly's oldest schools and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2008 for its educational and historical significance. The building was designed by local architect Ludwig Abt, whose work is associated with a number of significant properties in Moberly. Very few changes were made to the school during the 75-plus years it was used as the city's junior high school. In 1997, the building was closed by Moberly School District and has since remained vacant. Like many vacant structures, Moberly Junior High School is in peril due to lack of maintenance and neglect. In 2012, plans to rehabilitate the building as senior housing fell through due to lack of sufficient funding. The Moberly community strongly supports preservation and believes this property has great potential for rehabilitation, whether for housing, as previously planned, or another use. The City of Moberly, which currently owns the property, is discussing ways to market the building, but if no plans arise soon, demolition is an option that the city will be forced to consider. The community hopes that listing Moberly Junior High School as a place in peril will garner support for the building's rehabilitation and capture the attention of potential developers who have the vision and means to undertake such a project. Old Phillips 66 Gas Station, Greenfield, Missouri, Dade County. While little is known about the early history of this small Phillips 66 gas station in Greenfield, its location illustrates that it was once an important establishment in town. This space functioned as a gas station until the late 1980s and has since been home to a variety of businesses, including the Greenfield Chamber of Commerce, a nail salon, a hot dog stand, and a barbecue joint. The current owners do not wish to see the building demolished, but are no longer able to care for the property, which has been vacant for about 4 years. The former gas station requires a new roof and other maintenance. The owners received a letter from the city requesting that repairs be made or the building torn down. While there is plenty of verbal support from the community, this tiny greenfield landmark needs a champion to help the current owners restore it to its original glory, retaining what has been, and hopefully will be, a centerpiece in Greenfield for generations to come. Historic Resources of St. Charles, Missouri, St. Charles County. As the first capital city of Missouri, St. Charles is well known for its history, picturesque Main Street, and popular festivals. Many historic buildings have been restored and now contribute to a thriving business district. Unfortunately, many of the historic structures in St. Charles lack the proper maintenance, and this puts them at risk. Just north of the heart of the downtown area is the Frenchtown Historic District. While no less historic, the area has seen less of the commercial success as its sister district, and many of its structures could benefit from a bit of upkeep. The short boarding house at 1425 to 1427 North 2nd Street is one of these structures. Vacant for over 25 years, neglect has taken its toll, and issues include a hole in the roof and crumbling brick. A 1940s duplex on the rear of the lot is in the process of being rehabilitated. It is hoped that the owners plan to take the same care with this much older and more prominent structure that faces the street. Similar situations can be seen to the south, radiating outward from the central tourist area on Main Street. A lack of simple maintenance can quickly lead to more disastrous consequences like structural damage. Larger preservation issues within the city have become more prevalent as efforts have been recently made to undermine the authority of the Landmarks Board, which is responsible for assessing potential changes and impacts to St. Charles historic resources. These efforts include expanding its membership to add additional seats for underqualified individuals who would support the interest of politics and development, not preservation. While the City Council rejected disbanding the Landmarks Board and ruled against its expansion, these events show that the historic resources of St. Charles might face adversity in the future beyond neglect and deterioration. Nominators hope that this listing will not only encourage all historic building owners to address maintenance issues, but also make the general public more aware of the issues facing the Landmarks Board and St. Charles's future outlook towards preservation. Missouri State Penitentiary Walls, Jefferson City, Cole County. The wall surrounding the former Missouri State Penitentiary is one of the oldest standing architectural structures in Jefferson City. Sections of the wall are estimated to have been built between 1833 and 1835, just prior to the prison's opening in 1836. Over the years, inmates have carried out maintenance on the walls, rebuilding sections using locally quarried stone. For more than 150 years, the wall divided what was essentially two communities operating within Jefferson City, the prison and the city proper. Approximately 20 years ago, reports noted structural issues with the walls and tuck pointing was recommended. However, funding was not available to do the necessary repairs. In May of 2019, an F3 tornado ripped through the Capitol Avenue Historic District, causing a large section of the wall on Capitol Avenue to crumble. Dual ownership of the land by both the state of Missouri and the Jefferson City Convention and Visitors Bureau has further complicated fundraising efforts. Adding to the structure's peril is the threat of redevelopment in the prison area. While the idea of redevelopment is considered good for the community, there is also support for retaining the penitentiary walls as a reminder of the city's history. Advocates for the Missouri State Penitentiary walls hope that listing the property as a place in peril will help publicize the threat and prevent the structure's removal, allowing it to be incorporated into future redevelopment plans. Carpolis Manuscript Library, St. Louis, Missouri. The Carpolis Manuscript Library in St. Louis's historic Compton Heights neighborhood was constructed in 1911 as the Third Church of Christ Scientist. The church later housed the New Paradise Missionary Baptist Church congregation. In 2015, the building was acquired by the Carpolis family, which has established to date 17 museums across the country. The museum's project was initiated in 1983 by David and Martha Carpolis, wealthy California realtors who had amassed one of the largest private collections of original manuscripts covering topics from literature, science, religion, political history, art, and more. The Manuscript Library in St. Louis was the 13th of the family's museums, and like the other museums, serves to house the family's rotating collection. The St. Louis Carpolis Manuscript Library opened in August of 2015, sharing its space with the St. Louis Media History Foundation. In March 2019, a fire swept through the building, and while firefighters were able to save most of the collection, the building was severely damaged. It was determined that the building was structurally sound and could be repaired. The Carpolis announced that they were looking into repairing the windows and roof. Their plans for the interior were to either renovate the building into a large open space or to remove fire-damaged sections of the building and erect what would essentially comprise a new structure. No final plans were ever announced, and today the building is in peril, having stood vacant since March of 2019. The roof remains open to the elements, furthering deterioration. A buyer was anticipated, but the deal fell through, and the owner does not appear to be seeking to rehabilitate or sell the property. It is hoped that listing the Carpolis Manuscript Library as a place in peril will increase awareness for the precarious condition of the structure and encourage the current owners to either move forward with rehabilitation or initiate an active search for new ownership. Bay Mercantile Company, Village of Bay, near Hermann, Missouri, Gasconade County. The Bay Mercantile Company consists of a 3-story commercial building with an attached 2-story residence. The structures comprising the property date to 1856 to 57, constructed for local merchant Francis H. Peters. Evidence indicates the property was expanded to its current size in the 1870s by Simon Berger, who married Peters' widow and brought the mercantile into its most successful years. Both the house and adjacent barn, which was separated from the enterprise in the 1880s, are believed to be the work of an itinerant mason named Schneider. The buildings are good examples of central Missouri's stone masonry commonly constructed during the mid to late 19th century. The store remained in family ownership for many years until 1912, when it was purchased by a community-owned enterprise and renamed as the Bay Mercantile Company. The business remained an active part of the community until the 1970s, before closing and passing to private ownership. When Scott Ruffner purchased the property in 2012, there was significant deterioration from exposure and deferred maintenance. Scott, with the help of friends, salvaged the sagging storefront overhang and addressed leaks in the roof. He worked on many of the windows and shutters and prepared the metal roof for painting. All of the repairs were funded directly by Scott. Tragically, Scott unexpectedly passed away in May 2017. To honor Scott's dream of preserving the Bay Mercantile Company, family members created the Scott D. Ruffner Trust. In 2018, trustees approved funds to paint the metal roof, preventing further deterioration. While a few dedicated individuals provide as much maintenance as resources allow, much of the work to save this enormous structure is beyond their skills and resources. Much of the stone facade requires repointing, including removal of unintentionally harmful patch jobs done with improper materials that create additional problems. The structure's finished interior is immense, and while protected from the elements, still needs extensive work to make up for years of deferred maintenance. It is hoped that designation as a place in peril will help raise awareness for the project, bring in donations, and open up funding opportunities. We further hope to catch the attention of professionals who would be willing to volunteer time and expertise, ultimately fulfilling Scott's dream of restoring the Bay Mercantile Company. Rolla Division of the Bureau of Mines Headquarters, Rolla, Missouri, Phelps County. In 1920, the Federal Bureau of Mines, BOM, in their mission to study various types of mining across the country, opened a branch in Rolla on the campus of Missouri School of Mines and Metallurgy, currently Missouri University of Science and Technology. When more space was needed, local civic leaders came together to purchase land near the campus to construct new BOM facilities. A new headquarters was completed in 1947, destroyed by fire in 1948, and rebuilt as a Georgian Revival-style building in 1950. For many years, the Bureau worked closely with the university to develop advancements in mining and metallurgy that worked to improve the nation's metal and mineral industry. The BOM was dissolved by Congress in 1995. In 2000, the university gained ownership of the property. In 2015, 6 BOM buildings remained on campus. While the headquarters building was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2017, the university demolished 3 of the 6 standing BOM buildings shortly thereafter to create space for new residence halls. The Bureau of Mines headquarters is now in peril as the university has recently decommissioned the building and rendered a master plan that will remove the structure. 2 additional remaining BOM buildings adjacent to the headquarters will also be demolished. Currently, there is no known organized effort to preserve this building, and it is likely that the community is not yet aware of the university's intentions. It is hoped that listing the building as a property in peril will bring attention to the threat. Raising public awareness will hopefully build advocacy for the retention and adaptive reuse of the Bureau of Mines headquarters. The former St. Augustine Catholic Church, Project Augustine, St. Louis City, Missouri. The parish of St. Augustine was founded in 1874 to support the growing number of German Catholic immigrants in St. Louis. In 1896, the parish approved construction of this Gothic Revival brick church at 3114 Lismore to replace the original church that the congregation had outgrown. The new church was considered a prestigious example of German Catholic achievement, supporting more than 2,000 congregants. The church was designed by German-born architect Louis Vesbecker, who followed the local practice of expressing ethnic and religious distinctions through the building's interior plan. In this example, Vesbecker incorporated a German hall plan common in Gothic-style German churches dating to the 13th century. In 1928, a large Tudor-style rectory was constructed immediately south of the church, replacing an earlier rectory. St. Augustine supported a large parish until the mid-20th century, when the neighborhood began to decline. The property was purchased in 1982 by Christ Baptist Church, which sold the building to the Last Awakening Outreach Center, which utilized both the church and rectory until 2014. Afterward, the church sat vacant until February 2020, when a nonprofit organization, Project Augustine, purchased the property, saving it from auction.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Breeden. I am the president of Project Augustine. We are the current owners of St. Augustine or St. Augustine, former Catholic church in St. Louis, Missouri, built in 1896. It sat abandoned for about 6-7 years. Doors wide open, holes in the roof, windows gone, and so it's in a pretty horrible state of disrepair right now. We are hoping to do is fundraise for our project to turn the church into a community center, offering classrooms, event spaces, entrepreneurial spaces, a community garden, a plethora of options for North St. Louis. And right now we are in the beginning stages of our fundraising for this project, needing as much as $10 million for the restoration. So to be nominated as a 2020 Place in Peril for Missouri is extremely important to us to be able to get the message across and reach potential donors to make this project happen.
While restoration will take time, the immediate goal is to raise sufficient funds to stabilize the building from further deterioration by repairing the roof and securing the structure. Project Augustine hopes that by listing St. Augustine as a place in peril, they will garner the attention needed to raise funds for preservation and attract donated materials and services. Hi everyone, I'm Riley Price and I'm the administrator here at Missouri Preservation. I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in for our 2020 Places in Peril announcement. Visit preservemo.org to find out what you can do to help save each of these endangered historic places for future generations of Missourians.